Filters are an interesting and somewhat unique part of MVC. They can be a fairly expansive topic, so like always, we just want to discuss them in the context of the request lifecycle. One of the powerful aspects of filters is how they run at multiple points in the lifecycle. Filters also have a somewhat less specific role than some of the other components. In many ways, they're designed to inject miscellaneous logic into the lifecycle that doesn't neatly fit anywhere else. Of course, the type of filter used does imply some general expectations of what that class should be used for. As of MVC 5, there are 5 types of filters. I mentioned most of them earlier, but let's review them in more detail. First, we have the authentication filters, which are implemented through the I-authentication interface. We also have the authorization filters, which have a comparable I-authorization filter. The role of these types of filters is probably more obvious than the other types. The specifics of the various filter interfaces is not vital to our discussion, but if you're not familiar with them, I do encourage you to explore them more on your own. Probably the most common filter you'll create is an action filter by implementing the iActionFilter interface. These filters can be used for just about anything and are run before and after the action methods. Result filters are very similar to action filters, only they execute before and after action results, and they implement the iResult filter. The last type of filter is an exception filter, which can be implemented through an appropriately named interface. These filters run if there's an error in the action execution pipeline, such as in action methods or other filters. Now, filters are also interesting in the sense that they can be implemented at various levels of scope. We can apply them to individual action methods one at a time. We can also apply them at the controller level so that they run with every action method in that class. Finally, we could also apply them globally across the entire application for every controller. This means you could have action filters that run with every request or all the way down to just one specific URL. This is part of the reason that filters are so useful for handling various scenarios that just require some additional logic. Now, one of the most important aspects of filters, at least in the context of this course, is the order in which they're executed. Now, you might be thinking, we already covered this in a previous lesson. That's true, but only at a macro level. So for example, we know action filters are executed after authorization filters, and so on. However, there is an additional ordering with each type that we have to take into consideration. If you have 3 action filters on a single method, what order are those executed in? From top to bottom, right? Well, maybe. Action filters can execute in any given order within their category unless you specifically tell MVC otherwise. To address this, filters offer an additional parameter that can enforce their ordering, but this might not work exactly how you might guess. So for example, action filters have 2 methods, an onAction executing method and onAction executed. If you specify an order of execution, this only applies to onAction executing methods. The onAction executed methods will actually be run in reverse of the order specified. This can be a bit hard to grasp at first, but once you understand it, it's a nice feature that further empowers filters. Let's see how all of this works in action in the next lesson.